Welcome to another edition of Parking Lot Preview, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Matt Coates, here with Mike Maynard, and our special guest today, Scout Liaison for the Hyannis Harbor Hawks, Geno Cousino. Geno, how you feeling?
Feeling great, man. Good day for some baseball.
Hopefully it's a good day for some baseball. We've seen some sprinkles of rain here and there. The game actually just got moved up to 5 p.m., so we're hustling there right after this, but hopefully it's a great day for some baseball, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, the rain kind of, like I told you before recording, yeah, it came for a little spurt there for a little while, and it was pretty bad, but, clear skies right now for clouds,
Yeah,
but
you
no
know.
rain, and that's all we really care about. Like you said,
Wood.
getting moved up, though. Thank you very much. But yeah, we're scrambling to get this parking lot preview done before game time, and hope the rain stays away, and hope that this wind that we're experiencing doesn't affect the game too much in a negative way, at least.
Definitely. And tonight's matchup that we are mentioning is the Hyannis Harbor Hawks at Harwich to face the Mariners tonight. Before we get into anything, Mike, let's talk about our All-Stars. I'll go through them quick and throw it to the both of you for your opinions on our selections. We have Cam Smith starting at third base, and then Trey Lipsy, an outfielder, Nick Mitchell, another outfielder, with Elijah Hainline, who was in the game as a utility player, with two pitchers, Ethan Lanthier and Jamie Arnold. Michael, go to you first. How do you feel about our All-Star selection?
I honestly, not to be a bad person, not that I think I'm a bad person, but I honestly thought that we wouldn't have as many as we did. It's a good thing, honestly, that we do have as many as we do, but, I think Cam Smith was a lock. Obviously, he's going to be there, and he's going to be a starter for the team, which is nice, but then, pretty much everybody else is kind of a toss-up, in my opinion. I mean, some of the pitchers, Lanthier and Arnold were probably our best two guys, and you were looking at them to hopefully make it, but it wasn't a guarantee. So Cam Smith was really the only guy that I was guaranteeing, in my mind at least, that was going to make it. So the fact that, 5 other guys ended up making it, that's pretty good, and I'm happy for them, and happy that we'll have some representation at the All-Star game this year.
Definitely. We've talked about Jamie Arnold a lot, but Ethan Lanthier is a pitcher that we haven't mentioned that much, but he's been great for us so far this year. Like you said, Cam was a lock. Gino, what are your thoughts on these guys?
I really like that Mitchell and Hainline get the opportunity to go and show what they've got against the best in this league. Those are two guys who came in middle of the season and stepped right into the culture that they had established. And, from day one, these guys have produced, and it's good to see them get some recognition.
Definitely, I'm right there with you. They were late adds to the team, but they've done nothing but hit and do well defensively since they've joined us. Mike, you might know this. I want to say Nick Mitchell was Writers' Player of the Game in his second or third game up here. So, like we said, quick adjustment for them. They didn't take too long to get into the swing of things, and that's why they're rewarded with all-star selections.
Yeah, I'm not going to act like I know if that was true or not. I'm not going to, try to lie and say that I do, but he's been good, and he's been, basically your everyday leadoff guy since joining the team. So obviously Nick Mitchell is definitely a guy that was definitely on the radar of us and obviously the league on making the All-Star game. He ended up getting that nod. Good for him.
Fortunately, we're not going to catch Mike on the hot mic tonight, but let's just move on then because he's not going to lie for us. Let's talk about last night's game. Big victory, 4-3 victory, a walk-off in the 10th inning. Let's start with you, Gino. What did you see in last night's awesome matchup?
First thing that stood out was the pitching. I mean, exceptional performances across the board. Bourne's offense has been red hot for a while now. To hold those guys to 3 runs, really didn't give up many scoring chances throughout the game. That was incredible. Good work by the Megapaws, we've started calling them. And then just the clutch situational hitting that you need. York with the big hit there in the 10th, but really in those tight games against a good offense, you need guys to step up with 2 outs. 1 out, man on third, get them in. You need those clutch hits.
And you're completely right there with the pitching. They were phenomenal. From the 2nd through the 7th inning last night, Bourne was scoreless. Awesome against, like you said, such a great offense. So it just goes to show, Mike, how excellent our pitching's been all year. And what did you see last night in the game?
Yeah, I mean, Gino touched on the pitching, but he also somewhat touched on Zach York, who is a guy that I want to mention. Obviously he's been here for, I think, 8 games so far, so not a huge sample size, but the guy has come and just hit every game. There's nothing wrong with his game. He's shown power. He's shown great contact. I think he's leading the team in batting average. Now, obviously, with that smaller sample size, not exactly on the stat sheet going to be at the top. He's not qualified, I guess. But in my mind, he's qualified. The guy's hitting the crap out of the ball and doing a great job. And coming up in those big moments, like we just mentioned with the walk-off last night. And, this Harbor Hawks team, I mentioned it yesterday in the parking lot preview, I believe. we've seen them be able to come from behind many, many times this season. And again, last night was just another one of those times.
Yeah, just another one of those comeback victories for the Harbor Hawks. Excellent victory. And like you said, Zach York, that was our player of the game last night. He had the walk-off in the 10th inning. I want to say he's batting .497. He's just a little hair under 500. So like you said, he came here, he didn't take any time to adjust. He just hit right away.
Yeah, nothing you can ask for more out of him. He's come right in and hasn't missed a beat.
Exactly. And with that being said, let's move forward and let's look at tonight's matchup against the Harwich Mariners. The Harbor Hawks red hot. They are 7-3 over their last 10. Harwich, it's a different story. They're 3-7 over their last 10, sitting at 14-16 right now. Geno, what do you see when you look at those 10-game splits for these two teams? Complete opposites.
You know, it's crazy because that's pretty indicative of where these teams have gone immediately following the draft. You know, we didn't lose that many guys to the draft. You know, we've been losing guys more to injury throughout the year, but the draft didn't really hit us too hard, and that was intentional when we were putting together a roster. Harwich, they have lost a number of draft guys, but they were really rolling before the draft. So you know, you can put stock in the 10 games, but I think they're going to be right there.
Mike, how about you? Anything that you see out of that 10-game stretch, especially for the Harbor Hawks? We've been in all their games. They've been awesome so far. What have you noticed recently that's let them take this big leap?
I think, you know, recently we talked about how earlier in the season it was kind of back and forth kind of scenario for the Harbor Hawks every game to game. You know, it was a win and a loss, and you know, win a couple, lose a couple. We were about a 500 team for the first giant chunk of the season, and now you've seen, obviously, in these last 3 games, 7-3, really be able to stack those wins together and carry momentum game to game, and you know, not have to worry about you know, battling back so much and actually being able to hold some leads here and there. And, you know, you talked about Harwich being 3-7 over the past 10 games. I got a buddy writing for the Harwich Mariners, Matt, if you're out there, shout out to you. But I talked to him last night about Harwich because I knew we were playing them today. He was saying how they're just really, you know, streaky, really inconsistent, and kind of they've shown the ability to stack wins together. And right now they're just going through one of those rough patches where they've lost 7 of their last 10. But that's a Harwich team that can really stack wins together as well. And they might be in a little bit of a rough patch right now, but there's no saying that they can't, you know, battle back tonight and get a win against the Hyannis Harbor Hawks.
Definitely. We're going to hope they don't start a winning streak of their own tonight. They lost their game last night, a close game, 4-3 loss to Brewster. But tonight, we're going to look to put them down again and keep our winning ways going. That's going to start with our starting pitchers. Interesting starting pitcher matchup tonight, Mike. I'll give a quick preview for our starter. Mason Nichols, he's the righty out of Ole Miss. So far on the Cape, he's had 5 appearances with 3 starts, 6.56 ERA, 8 Ks, and 12 walks over 12.1 innings. So not exactly great stats. Geno, you're our liaison guy, you're a baseball operations guy. What do you see out of Nichols so far this year?
He's a talented pitcher, first of all. He got called to USA a couple weeks ago, so obviously when you have a guy of that caliber starting for you, you like it. But he's been a little inconsistent this year just with the strike throwing. One of his biggest keys is locating his slider and really letting his fastball and slider play off each other. He's really been lights out when the slider's been working. So if he can get that pitch going the first couple innings tonight, heads up, Harwich.
Definitely. Let's hope he gets those 2 pitches working together in tandem. And while we think about that, Mike, why don't you talk to us about the Harwich starter? There's very similar stats.
Yeah, Harwich, we got Colin Rothermel, the righty out of Kansas State. So far, 4 appearances this season, 3 starts over the summer. A 6.75 ERA, like you said, very similar to Mason Nichols on the Hyannis side. 14 strikeouts and 10 walks over 10 innings pitched. More of a strikeout guy than Nichols, so we'll look for him to kind of have his strikeout pitch going tonight. But like we both mentioned, both guys with a mid-6 ERA should be a pretty high-scoring game if we're looking into those stats a lot tonight.
I agree, Mike. I'm right there with you. Last night we had a low-scoring affair against Warren. Tonight we got 2 starters on the mound with 6+ ERAs. You expect that to be high-scoring. You never know with Cape League baseball. These guys are very talented. Geno just talked about how talented Nichols is, so he could go out there and shove. But maybe we're going to see some runs come off the board early tonight, which could be a high-scoring affair, which Hyannis is no stranger to.
Yeah, hopefully, obviously, the runs come for us and not the Harwich Mariners. But like you mentioned, this team has shown the ability to really drop a lot of runs. I believe it was, 2 games ago where we had 15 runs get scored in just 8 innings of offense, too. Didn't even need the bottom of the 9. So this team can definitely put runs on the board when they need to, and hopefully we see that tonight.
Definitely. And like I mentioned earlier, we're here with Geno Cousino, who is our scout liaison. For those watching, Geno, what is your role as scout liaison, and how have you enjoyed your summer thus far in the Cape?
Yeah, so my role as a scout liaison, I get the opportunity to communicate with and talk to all the scouts that come out to Cape from various organizations, and also a number of college coaches as well. Had the opportunity to not only pick their brains and learn more about what they see in players, but also to get the opportunity to give them information on our guys, kind of what I'm seeing trends wise and tools wise on our guys. And I've really enjoyed that. I met a lot of fantastic people out here, and happy I got it.
Yeah, it's an awesome experience. Our baseball operations interns are so smart. We've had a couple of them on today. Geno is our latest member. So happy to have you on here, Geno. But yeah, it's a great opportunity and a great role. We see him working hard. He's always bringing down the rosters, the stat sheets. He's going his printing going. He's writing down the starting lineups on the whiteboard, all that good stuff. So if you come to a Hyannis game, look for this man over here. Ask him about some of our players. He'll give you the right information. And with that being said, let's go to our players of the game. Mike, I'm going to start with you. Like you said last night, save the best for first. Why don't you give us your player of the game pick?
Appreciate that, man. I'm going to go with the guy, outfielder Trey Lipsy, just announced as an all-star like you mentioned earlier. He's been more of a right-handed pitcher specialist. He's been hitting those righties really well, and he's usually in the lineup almost every game. Again, everybody out there watching knows I always pick the guys that aren't in the lineup. I'm really hoping Trey plays today, but usually when a righty pitcher's on the mound, that lefty bat, Trey Lipsy, is usually in the lineup. So hopefully we'll see him tonight. And like I mentioned, just announced an all-star. Maybe that gives him a little bit of extra confidence walking into this game tonight, and hoping for a big game out of him against the Harwich Mariners.
Yeah, Mike, I think your mojo rubbed off on me a little bit last night. I picked a guy who wasn't in the lineup. So we're shaking it off tonight. I need a guy who is starting. And I'm going to go with a pick that a lot of people are going to be like, oh, that's basic. Oh, well. I'm going with Cam Smith.
That's basic.
He hasn't won in a little bit, which is why I'm going back to him. He was just announced as an all-star starter, and for good reason. He deserves it. We know he deserves it to be in that hot corner for the West Division. And he hasn't won player of the game in a bit, which for a player like Cam means something. Last night he had a double, extra base hit. I expect him to do the same tonight and a little bit more. So that's why I'm going with Cam. But Geno, bring us home. Give us the last player of the game pick.
I love Nick Mitchell tonight. He's going to be at the top of the order, and feels like he had a few games, like 4 or 5 games ago, where he was on base 3-4 times a game. I would look for him to have at least 1 or 2 walks, throw a double in there. Good day for Nick. Yeah.
I like that pick. He always seems to be in the running when we're talking about who should win player of the game, looking at the stats during the game. Geno, thank you so much for joining us. Mike, as always, it was a pleasure to have you here next to me. Thank you guys for watching. We're going to run over to Harwich and hopefully watch a Harbor Hawks dub. Thanks for watching. Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Hawks.